I'm going to throw that recording on because I love to be able to go back and look at them myself, because it's not always that you can see the program and follow along. So hello and happy Saturday to everybody that's out there, wherever you are calling in from. I know there's people from Europe and all over the United States and in many different many different countries, and people watch the recording of this too. So wherever you're watching this from, hello and welcome. You know, one of the things that if you've heard Art and he talks about what is it that's really going to build this business, he says it's the number of stories that are being told. How many people are telling the story in Zinzino? And so we're actually going to talk about a story that I just find incredible for more ways than one. And I think it's super inspiring. And this is inspiring both for people in North America and for everybody who is overseas who has been saying they want to build in the United States. Now, I know when we were on the director trip in Mexico, we had Art had a session where he said, anybody who wants to come and build in the United States, come on in. And when you walked into that room and you saw half of the people that were on that trip were in that room. So they know the potential of North American market. I mean, we've got, you know, so many people in the United States, 330 million of them. We've also got Mexico that's soon opening, and we've got 30 million some people in Canada. So we have so many people, and the numbers are showing we really need this. So this couple, you're going to hear their stories, and you're going to hear his story, you're going to hear her story, and you're going to hear even more of everybody. And so let's just make sure everybody's muted there. And I'm going to maybe just start with Patric, because Patric started, and if you've watched any of the lives before, you know, I've had him on here before. He has a Royal Crown position. So he's been building this business in Sweden here. And so I think what I'll do, Patric, is have you just come on and introduce yourself, just a quick thing. So Royal Crown, Patric Nilsson. Hey, Patric.
Hi, Carla. Great to see you. Great to be here in this meeting room again. So introducing myself. I'm from a small town in Sweden, and I didn't know what to do when I grew up. So I ended up working in a factory, and I realized after weeks into that career that I didn't want to do that all my working life. So I met Frederick, who is my business partner today, actually the person who showed direct sales to me from the beginning. And we starting to study this profession and really learn a lot about the business model and so on. And this is the vehicle who actually brought me from the factory. So since 2014, I've been doing Zinzino full time.
I love that. So, you know, and it's really good for people to hear, okay, he started in the factory and started to look at this profession. And when you saw it, you kind of realized that you could do this, and you worked with, you know, with your sponsor partner and built this up to a Royal Crown position. So you knew what you were doing at the time. Yeah. But then something happened here some years ago where another gal came into Zinzino from Sweden, and let me just add her on here, Sofie. Hello to you. So you got started in Zinzino also. So maybe tell a little bit of your background.
Oh, my background. Hey, Carla, and hey, everybody. It's so fun to be here. Yes, my background is, I'm also from a small town, really small, like 600 people. That's actually very small if you compare to the whole. But I studied to be a preschool teacher, and I studied in a city called Trollhättan in Sweden. And when I was finished to be a preschool teacher, I moved to Gothenburg.
Mhm.
And I have always had high ambitions, so I wanted to start my own preschool. And but when I started at my first job as a preschool teacher, I had 2 hours to get to my work and 2 hours to get home. And I always was into, in that mode. I just had 1-year-olds that I had this schooling. I knew in schooling. I don't know how you say it in English, but you have this new 1-year-olds every season.
So
And
they kept changing out. So you had every year you got the next 1-year-olds.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
And that teach me a lot to actually build the trust with this 1-year-old and how to have this clarity with the parents and so on. And I was 23 when I did this. But
So
then
why, so why, how did you end up in Zinzino?
Things has changed in that profession as a preschool teacher, and I was hungry to. I got in contact with personal development, and I started to question things, and I wanted more. I wanted to have a big change, and that's what the time I moved to Stockholm, and I started to network, and I find a new course I wanted to take. And I invested a lot of money in myself. And that's when the story comes about Singapore.
Okay, so you started going into personal development and saw that they had this personal development course. It was quite expensive and in Singapore, seriously. It's like the other end of the world.
Yeah.
And so, but you invested in that. So you go to Singapore.
Yeah. I went to Singapore, yeah. And so my initial goal was I want to quit being a teacher. I want to stop being a teacher because a lot of things had changed. A lot of the administrative, lesser time with the children, and so on. I knew that I can't go on with this for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
So when I invested, and I remember it was 2017. I was in the airport sitting with this ticket, and I was going to make this big jump into something I didn't know, and when I came to Singapore, I went into a discussion with the course leader. His name is Blair Singer. And I remember his like ice blue eyes, really. And he looked
Now,
into
Blair Singer is a big name. People
Yeah.
know Blair Singer because Blair Singer worked with
Robert Kiyosaki.
Robert Kiyosaki. So a lot of our books are on the book table of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, things like that. And he worked with him. So yeah, that must have cost a lot. So you're talking to this guy, the courses leader, and what does he say to you?
Yeah, he actually said to me after like 4 days, and I was on the stage because this course name was Making the Stage. And he said to me, "You're born to be a teacher." And
so you're looking at new things. You pay a ton of money to go over to Singapore, and he says, "You're born to be a teacher."
Yeah.
It was going back to the beginning.
Yeah, but and everyone there, like in the group we were in and so on. Yeah, you should do something with the preschool. You should make your own preschool. They were all was thinking in this system, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my intuition said to me that I want to do a greater impact. I want to influence. I want to create something more than just being a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came home, I started networking, and I had actually started with Zinzino, but I wouldn't say that I would take it that seriously back then. And also one or many things I understood on this course was self-worth, my own self-worth, and also I needed to take help. I asked for help. It was hard for me.
That's actually a really good thing, because many entrepreneurs, many people who get started in Zinzino, who's self-employed or independent, it's hard sometimes. It takes a while before they realize you can't do this alone. you need to ask for help. So you realize that that's a big step.
Mm.
So what did you do when you realized you needed to get some help?
Yeah, I've heard. I started networking, and I found a man. I'm sorry, I'm having a bit cold here. I found a man. He's been an entrepreneur for 10 years, and I asked him, "Can you help me?" And I knew that he was in Cicino, and he started to say to me, "But what do you want to do?" First question, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to do this. I want to coach. I love food. You know, I had a lot of things I want to do. And he said, yeah, you have 168 hours per week. 56 hours you sleep, 40 hours you do some kind of work. And then he counted down that you have at least 10 to 15 hours per week on just time you can actually do something with. And he said that focus is the same like a really strong, you know, water can be strong as a laser beam, you know, can cut to everything. But if not, it's just wet everywhere. And I said to him that, yeah, I am not focused on the things I want to do. I want to have more time. I want to teach whoever I want, you know. And then I asked him, what do you do? And he said, I'm working with test-based nutrition. And yeah.
So this sounds like a quite clever man.
Yeah. And yeah. So 5 years later, we are working together.
And Patric, this is where you guys decide to start to work together and to start building Zinzino together. And have been a couple since then.
Yes. Is there a question in there?
Do you have anything to add or change? Because I know when I was listening earlier, we were talking about the different stories. Are we in agreement on this one?
So far, so good.
Okay, so far, so good. So you get started and you decide to work together as a couple and have another position. So you have your Royal Crown position, and now you guys just hit crown here together. And now one of the things, Patric, I will never forget is it's been about a year or so when you started building in the United States. And you came with some great things that you talked to us about, because you had an idea of really building here in the United States, and you were contacting some of the health professionals, and you know, it's kind of a cold contact, but you just had a certain thing, and I have used it since, and I know a lot of us on this call have. I'm working with, I'm looking for, are you open to? And that's been your way of getting in contact with people. And you have been sponsoring a lot of people in the United States, right? By using that exact sentence in the last year.
Yes, right. Because the thing is, it's the recipe, and thousands of reach outs, hundreds of Zoom meetings, over 100 follow-ups led to Top Recruiter last year, and going to the Maldives and so on.
Yeah, okay.
So
Listen to, these Scandinavians, did you guys hear that? Yeah, we went this and we sponsored this, and we, you know, got Top Recruiter, went to the Maldives. Seriously. we gotta Americanize that just a little bit here. So by using that and sponsoring so many people, and it's a lot of contacting. And what I think was really a big wake-up call is when the team that went to the director trip, they were in the room, and Art was talking about everybody building. And you, of course, have been sponsoring, but you just looked up Art's calendar and booked it out when you were doing your second looks and your third look. So you did the first looks, you did the first contacting, you were building the relationship, and you were giving them their first looks and sometimes second looks. And then when they were looking at more, you were booking Art at that time and putting Art on different calls.
Yeah, because actually it was in Portugal in September 21, I believe it was. And I have already decided to look more into LinkedIn as a platform to reach out to people. And I had a kind of account, but I haven't been active there since before. And I talked to Art more and more about I really want to focus in the US, and I will pick Florida as a market because the office is there and we have Dr. Clayton there. It's pretty close to Texas as well. And I've been to Florida actually 4 times to the mastermind events. So I know a little bit about it, but not so much because I don't know anyone there. So I asked him, are you willing to help me? And he said, yeah, sure. Do you have someone we should talk to? And I said, no. And he said, okay, then you need to start to find someone we can talk to. So I started the process, and I jumped on Zoom meetings just to connect, like an intro call to start with, because I didn't know what I was doing actually. So then I brought into our Art into the second looks or the presentation after a kind of an intro call. But time is his time is also limited. So I decided to also do the presentation, and after a while I did the presentation and the follow-up and brought him into the third meeting. But the funny thing, what you referred to, was in the beginning of last year, February, March, he has his calendar, his Calendly that I could find and I could use, and I asked him so many times, are you sure? Could I continue? Yeah, for as long as you have interesting contacts, for as long as you have done the first presentation and you want me into the follow-up, I'm okay with that. Just use it. And I saw that he had Monday to Friday, 3 times I could potentially book. But if I schedule one meeting, the other one disappeared. So top two meetings every day. So he had 10 meeting slots a week. And some weeks in February, March, April, May last year, we did 7-8 meetings a week. So I had like 70 to 80% of the times he opened up for all of us, and of course that's
a key.
Real great results.
That is such a key. I mean, in some ways, my heart kind of goes, oh, because I'm like, why didn't we book him? But in the other way, I'm like, bravo, respect to you guys, because you guys together made that decision. Florida was where you wanted to be, and you decided to work in that group so that they could be working. It's smart, working together. And then why not use Art every second you can? And you get that extra bonus. And then you got all the way up to sponsoring over 50 people in a year. And
yeah.
Congratulations on that, because there's not a ton of people that get to that founders trip and get on to that trip. And the Maldives, I mean, we saw the pictures. I have a picture of the Maldives on my dream board. So I'm like, oh man, but if I would have done that, I would have done the same thing, right? So hands down to that. Now you guys did kind of, when you met, you were saying, getting to know each other. You kind of started looking, you were both kind of had big goals. You had talked about, I know, Sofie, you had talked about you wanted to do something, move somewhere, get into a different place or country, right? Because it was together you guys decided to go to focus on Florida.
But I don't know if our stories will set apart here, because when I met Patric, he was like, but I like Sweden. We can live in Jönköping. It's like, it's not, it's a very small area. And he was like, and I was like, I'm going to New York, I'm thinking bigger, and he, but I have a lot of affirmations, And before I met Patric, I actually had a visualization. It's very strong that I was writing every like four day. I was writing this visualization before I met Patric. And I was waking up. It's a light room, and I have a silhouette, and it's a man with dark hair. I know this is so cool. Dark hair, and the feeling in the air is that we are not in Sweden. We are having these beaches, we're having these palm trees. And I know I'm going up, I'm sneaking up and changing to my workout gears. I'm going up for a run, doing some yoga with the pool, and going in to do some good breakfast. And I hear this little feet running into the bedroom to their father. You know, this was like mentoring in my head. So when I met Patric and he said, oh, Sweden, you know, I was like having this strong vision. And then we were in Portugal, and Patric coming home and said, I want to build Florida. It was something that like had switched. And I said, thank you, affirmations. I believe that they are working.
This is where we talked about the purpose aligns.
Yes.
You both were like wanting to build, you started looking outside of Sweden, but you're both from small towns with big goals and really starting to wanting to do the same thing. And you said too, you know, you both had that same kind of vision of helping a lot of people, big teams, you know, you have huge goals, both of you.
Yeah, I mean, when I met Patric and he had this session with me, and he was writing up, you know, 168 hours and so on. I remember he was saying to me that he was not going to do anything on New Year's Eve. And I was feeling sorry for him, because I thought he didn't have any friends. But I know I am very wrong about that now. And I invited him to come home to Stockholm, where I lived, and to just hang out, you know. And he said yes to that, and we get to know each other the whole weekend. And I remember on New Year's Eve he's writing 2 books in Swedish, and he's doing a blog in Swedish as well. So he's writing a lot. So I actually got to see his notes in his phone, and he was writing that he want to help people be entrepreneurs again. And I was like, I want to help people believe in themselves. So then the you know, the things come down to it.
It was like,
I was like, it's him, you know. And
he's the tall, dark, and handsome.
He's a tall, dark. Yeah, no, I know, that's so crazy.
He's the guy from my dreams.
Yeah, and
Aww.
there was he like tall and, you know, and everything. And
so now you just need the palm trees.
Yeah, no.
I love it. Okay, so together you guys start to building in the US, and but building the relationships too, because it's not just cold contacting. You guys are also building the relationship with people also, but you guys also have a huge team growing. Then I hear that Swedish team you guys got is just on the run.
Yes. The short answer, yes.
Which is exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's like, if I can say something, I mean, you know, when we started this to work on ourselves and to work on Florida and the cold prospecting and so on, I think we didn't realize that how much we are growing ourselves, and we had to do that kind of work to come where we are now. And I think and now we need to take, you know, one gear again to really, because now we are really attracting really interesting people.
But that's a big thing. So that you're attracting these bigger people. I want to dig into that a little bit, because you guys made a decision, things start getting going, and all of a sudden you're even attracting some bigger name people, and people are, the timing is right for them. Maybe you want to tell a little bit about some of that. Why do you think that is?
Oh, what do you
Can I
think?
start?
Yeah,
Yeah.
start you.
Yeah, yes, because talking about attracting, when you like truly decided and start the process and start prospecting, reaching out to people, and you have actually draw a line in the sand and taking a step forward. You know where you are going, you know that you know, and people will feel that. So like attracts like. So if you are a productive person, you attract other productive people. If you're a healthy person, you will attract like. If you're a lazy person or a negative person or a positive person, if you're a happy person, you will attract like. So when we decided and really went out there and start having all these meetings and got some results, of course we got help from social media, from stories from the Maldives, but it don't need to be there, because people feel if you are moving or not. So what actually happened, and we have so many examples, but a very, very good example is in the end of February this year, when we have really focused on Florida for 1.5 years. I got a call. No, I got a message on Messenger. Says, "Hey Patric, I think it's time to have a Zoom. It's time for a follow-up." And
so somebody's calling you for the follow-up.
Yeah. And actually kind of funny thing, because we have known each other for probably 10 years or so. We have many common friends, and one learning thing from this as well, we have an expression, I think it works in English as well: don't go over the river for water, because the person who wrote to me actually lives like 20 minutes from where I lived before.
Okay.
So
but you know this person, so you knew this person for a
Yeah.
long time, and
Yeah.
it's somebody
And
that
we
you prospected, or have you?
we haven't actually prospected each other, because he was active in another company. So, but we have taken a cup of coffee and a lunch and so on. So we have met during these years.
So
And
you've built the relationship a couple times a year, just sitting down, having coffee, and yeah. And because he's in a different company, you respected that, and he respected you. Okay. But he called you and he wanted a follow-up?
Yeah, because we haven't talked that much about the company. We have talked about test-based nutrition and so on, but nothing else. So the interesting part was, he said that I've been to Vitas, I've had dinner with Orion, and Lars, our sales director for the Nordic countries, have we have drove up to Oslo and Gothenburg and so on. So I did all these things. Now I'm ready to start. So sign me up and let's go.
Okay. So he had done all of that, checking things out. He'd already talked to Orion, already talked with Lars, already been up to Vitas in the office and everything. He went through all of that. And then
he did his due diligence before talking to us. So he knows Lars since many years back. He knows Orion since 20 years back. So, and we're talking about aligning, because productive people want to connect with other productive people. And I really believe that if we actually didn't do anything with the Florida market, or didn't like produce as we actually did, probably my name wouldn't come up in his mind when it was time to do a shift. So I want to think like that.
So he's a direct seller who had a position in another company, but the timing was right for him to look at something else. And your name came up because you're the one who had built a relationship with him. And how did that go?
Pretty well. Executive the first day, diamond in 19 days. So we have actually
okay, we gotta
Pretty
Use
growth in Sweden.
These Scandinavians just don't. Yeah, it did. That's pretty well. You know, he turned diamond in 19 days. Yeah, that's pretty darn crazy.
They,
Okay.
Sandra and Joachim, both of them as
Sandra and
a
Joachim.
couple.
Sandra and Joachim, respect to both of you, and a great choice to be a part of the team. Welcome to Zinzino. And how crazy is that? But the timing was right. So that's another push for building the relationships. Build relationships with people, because you never know. And actually, right now, a lot of direct sellers are coming in. If you look, I mean, even just on Facebook, you know, with Sven and Audrey coming, merging, and then now we see other companies that are actually joining too. I saw 2 more companies of leaders of their co-founders from those other companies that are now joining Zinzino. So the timing is right to be talking to people, but again, building the relationships.
Yeah, and another example of that, Sofie can take over and talk about that. But again, remember the attracting part, because if you are out there and doing the job, not only branding, not only stories or Facebook posts, if you are out there and actually building, people will feel that. So you become an attractive sponsor if they are open to. So like our art often says like the top of the mind expression, like, okay, if I say cars, what brands do you think about? But I changed that into what do people say about you? Are you a positive person, or are you a happy person? Are you a person easy to talk to, easy to be around? Is it attractive to be around you? Are you talking about leadership, finance, personal development, professional development, or are you talking about problems? Are you talking about drama? Are you talking about politics? Because it's a choice. So
it's what you're filling your brain with, and so it's what's going to come out. And builders build, as so clearly says. And
exactly,
it's that attraction that's really doing. What is the top of the mind? What is it? What people think about you? And that's maybe another thing, Sofie, about going to doing different things that are personal development. I mean, that meant a lot to you, or you wouldn't be going to sales.
I will never. I believe I will never attract Patric in my life if I didn't do that investment and did that hardcore personal development courses that I did. And I think that also made a good, ground or platform or for me to work on. And but I also believe that you don't have to invest a lot of money, because if you're into Zinzino, because that's a lot of personal development just there to
just
go
in
out.
The Go Core.
The Go
Core.
Yeah, but also go out from the comfort zone, call that person up and making those follow-ups, and like doing the work. For me, I feel like when especially Patric hit the ground with LinkedIn, I was very inspired and from him. But I was like, okay, will this really go? And after 90 days, then he started to see attraction. I think we got our first partner after 90 days, 3 months.
90 days. That's a big deal too. And I know, Patric, you have said you have had so many meetings, but and at some point it is. And I do think if you're contacting people that to start with, your friends and family, the people who love you, you have a higher percentage of who you're going to close by far.
Definitely.
Definitely. But I love the fact that you did work in a certain area so that you could really build a team in that same area. That was a genius move too.
So I just want to say that I got inspired from him, and I started doing the same. But the thing I started to do was I tried to be a copycat. I tried to be Patric, And that was very interesting because when I started to talk with people, I had this manuscript, you know, I tried to talk like him, and we are very different persons, like in many ways.
Well, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we all know.
Yeah. And I remember when I was going out from a meeting here, and I was like, you know, pulling my hair, was like, I was frustrated. And he said, maybe you should just be yourself. And then I start crafting my story from Randy Gage, you know, from Leader School. Craft the story better and better, and I'm still working on it. And when I then going into a meeting, you know, you started to be better and better at my story to build that trust. And after 1.5 years, I took contact with someone I followed for many years that lives in Cancun.
We were going to Cancun anyway.
Yeah. And I follow this amazing lady, a beautiful woman. Her name is Rael, and she in Instagram for many years. And I actually asked her first time 2019, but you know, you are in different frequencies, so what do you ever believe in, you know? And
I like that. You were on different frequencies at the time. Yeah.
And so I had to do my work on myself and doing, you know, the work on Florida, learn my story and so on. So when I asked her in December 2022, then she was ready. And then I was more, we are going to launch Mexico with our test-based nutrition concept. Are you open to know more? And she said yes. And I'm so grateful for this, because then we went to Playa del Carmen in Cancun, and we got to meet in
person.
And you know, it's like for me, it was to meet an old friend, because I have followed her for so long. But it was feeling so natural, you know.
And she decided to start up in the business, and a lot of it maybe because you had been through what you've been through, so your confidence, you know, again, attracting you guys are attracting that, because you guys are working, you guys are building, you guys have a vision, a purpose that is in alignment. And so other people, I mean, seriously, when people are looking at their purpose, who wouldn't want to be helping others? Who wouldn't want to be helping others with their health, or helping others be entrepreneurs? And that's what you're going to be attracting when you guys are moving on the way to do that. That's a big deal. But people need to do the work, and it's not just posting something on Facebook. It's not just a once in a while thing. You guys have had meetings. You guys had to have had a lot of meeting if you're sponsoring 50 people out in the year. Period.
And also I've seen my social media as a compliment. You know, I'm saying to myself, I'm an old school person. Yeah, I'm born 1990, but you know, I'm an old school person. Everyone is laughing here. That's wonderful. But I love, you know, meeting my neighbor, and you know, having these people around. But I really understand that to have social media and to connect with such a broader audience around the globe. That's why I'm having English language in my social media, because I want to be better at my English. And and
you're doing amazing. You're doing a lot better than my Swedish, Donna.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, but I think you have to do the hustling to really understand. We always talk about, you know, work smarter, not harder, and I really believe in that. But you have to do, you know, the work on yourself. You have to have those kind of meetings, the hustling, you know, to really understand how to work smarter. I think, and to transform to that person you want to be. And that's one of my goals.
But I think too, because when you guys have this purpose, what you really want to do, it gets you excited. It gets you excited to do this. It gets you excited to work on this together. I mean, being in alignment with a purpose, it just gives an energy. And I think anybody who's listening to that also can feel that energy. because energy also does something, or it's I kind of like your word, the frequency.
Yeah, but
You're on the
it's
right.
so true, because I met Patrick before. I remember I was in the phone with him sometime at one time, but we didn't you know, we didn't have the same radio channel, you know. But when I did the work and the self-worth and so on, and I think that's, what do you think you are worth? And I think when you understand how much you are worth, then you're also attracting people that see that.
Mhm. What do you think of that, Patrick? I mean, do you think that you're attracting even more people now? I mean, I've heard, you know, on the director calls, and everybody on here should be a director just to get on the director calls. But I know Orion even had said, you know, you've always been consistent and amazing and building the way you have. But when you started working with Sofie, you guys really became, you know, it wasn't just 1 + 1 is 2. It's more 1 + 1 is 4, because you guys are working so positively and well together.
Of course, because you have the structure, the business model, and then you have the culture. You have the relationships and everything. So I was very, very, very much systemized. It was always talking about the pipeline the first 7 years or so in the business. So and that worked pretty well. But of course, when I met Sofie, and yeah, it's personal development as well
To meet me.
to meet Sofie. Yeah. But of course, we always work on ourselves, and if like you don't want to go into stagnation when it comes to development, because stagnation equals death. It's over. You always want to grow, and I was so systemized. So okay, I know how to connect, I know how to talk to people, but like Randy said in a training 20 years ago, 2 people in an elevator. I don't want to be there. I don't know how to do the small talk. So, but Sofie knows how to do the small talk. So,
In other words, you sponsored your
very good match.
weakness. Did you just sponsor your weakness?
Exactly. I know. I love that expression. I sponsor my weakness. That's
Oh,
right.
I love that.
And I just want to say something to that, because this is, you don't have to, okay, we are talking a lot about Cincino in our life. I mean, that's our mentors, Tim and Kerstin, they say we are breathing Cincino, you know, and what we are saying to our partners, you don't have to find, you know, a life partner. It is a life partner, but to find that someone that isn't like you, because and it's so great. I mean, I sponsored one gal. Her name is Nicole, and she's my opposite. She's like Patrick. Yeah. And what she want to know is that, how do I understand back office? I want to understand credits, you know, all of the things that I'm starting to think it's really interesting now. But that gives me not the pressure, but the transformation, because I want to know, and I want to teach. I want to know all of that because I want to be a better leader.
Right.
But I have had Patrick for so long now, and he's been, you know, he's my opposite with all that, and he's like seeing. He's like in the matrix and seeing everything in a different way. And he likes seeing everything, the whole network, you know. It's very fascinating. And yeah, so but I also want to know all of that so I can be a better leader for Nicole, and I want to say, to sponsor the ones that isn't like you gives you more, how do you say, you're transforming more to be a broader, a better version of yourself.
Well, that's an important thing.
Yeah.
And I think it was kind of fun because I had been everybody's been trying to pronounce your name. Since then on the team calls or people trying to say Taijonlahti, right?
Yeah, I think you're doing a great job. Yeah, doing
Sofie
great.
Taijonlahti.
Yeah, my father, he's the one that is Finnish, so it's a Finnish last name.
Okay.
And me and Patric was talking today. Should we get married so everything is easier? My name is Sofie Nilsson. I don't know. It sounds so boring, but I mean Taijonlahti. It's how my father pronounced it. Taijonlahti.
Taijonlahti.
Yeah. And it's actually a cool. It's all just my family that is having that name, and it's like the name. It's how do you say Viken? Do you know that, Patric? You know, a little bit lake.
Maybe
Yeah,
the Wizard
Magic
Bay.
Lake. It's the
Okay.
name. A Magic Lake.
Oh,
It's the
Magic Lake.
Yeah, Magic Lake.
Oh, well, that's really sweet. I love that. I kind of think that's kind of fun. Is that a little bit of a nudge here to Patric about it? Oh,
I
no.
didn't hear.
I've been nudging him for a long time now, but I think
Are we all going to be looking online to see if
I'm
there's
in the process. I'm in the pipeline. We'll see.
pipeline? The relationship is in the pipeline. Let's see what's the next. We've had the first and second look. We've been the business presentation. Is the big event coming soon?
Yeah, maybe it's going
We're going to be
on a
looking
big
forward to the end of that pipipeline, and when maybe
But
the
we will
last
see.
meeting are the same.
Taijonlahti or Nilsson? What do you think? What's best? Nilsson, maybe.
Or maybe both. Maybe
Maybe
both.
both.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so any last words that you would say? Because I think if I'm to say, what did I sum up out of this? It is the action.
Yeah.
It is the personal development. And those two things are building the business big. And people want to do more personal development because you can tell that's something that you guys have really prioritized huge, is to be those people that is really leading the way, but you've also had the action behind it. I mean, it wasn't just a meeting here and there. This is meeting upon meeting upon meeting, second looks, follow up. And because Patric, I think because you are so systematic, when you put in more action, have you done more action than you've ever done?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think me and Art have done like 120, 130 follow-ups. So with different people. So to do so, you need 400 presentations with different people. In this case, in Florida. So yes, more action than ever. Absolutely.
But that's what's giving you guys that energy also, because you guys are just oozing the energy out there. And again, the more action people are taking and the more results you're getting, the more confident you guys become, and the more you're attracting even more people. I mean, seriously, a diamond in 19 days. That's where people can go. And we've got, like I said, from the very beginning, we've got lots of people yet to talk to. And I am so happy. Some people are kind of like, well, you want to really promote people in other teams. This is a success for all of us. And that's one thing I think about in Nilsson is how we promote each other. Because it is huge that you guys are having success. That helps everybody in Nilsson everywhere, because it gives the positivity for absolutely everywhere. And we've got enough people. So everybody who's in Nilsson right now, I mean, everybody can be crowned in a couple of years just with the markets we're in, right?
Absolutely. And talking about like the calendar and so on, it don't need to be Art. It don't need to be Carla or Patric or Sofie. If you have a sponsor or active uplines who are willing to do meetings, just start scheduling meetings. And if you have a downline who can have meetings with you, start scheduling meetings. So I don't know, if you open up your calendar and say, hey, I can help you with 10 meetings a week, and see that as a very, very important asset. I mean, it's a gold mine. So just start act upon it, because we have so much to do out there.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
And also, I mean, when about the downline, I mean, I remember when we were going for our crown title in March, and I remember because I was in the south of Sweden, and with a downline, I was helping her with meetings, and Patric called and said, we are very close for this. And I remember I got, tunnel vision. I don't know how you say tunnel vision in English. Yeah. And what do we need to do? what do we need? He said, that we need and that, he was calculating and so on. And I was with my downline. She's an amazing downline. Her name is Sarah. Shout out to her, Sarah Holmberg. And we were sitting down, and we had this, I wanted to show her a presentation with the, info Cincino. How do you do a brochure? So we were sitting like in live meeting and doing that. It was really fun. And after that, we had some negotiations back and forth with this amazing person we were in meeting with. And I remember you said, I see 2 options here, but you're ready to go. I feel that you're ready to go. And then I was quiet. And I said to Sarah, you should be quiet too. And she was quiet. And that prospect, her name was Maria, she said, yeah, maybe I should do this. Yeah, you should do it. Sign up here, Ultimate Partner Kit. Yes, let's go. And then we had a second meeting, and I remember that was online. And I remember, I see 2 options here, but I feel that you're ready to go.
It worked.
Yeah.
So you just kind of, I think, again, you were attracting it by just saying, hey, it looks like you're ready to go.
Yeah. And
looks like you're ready to go.
Yeah.
And people were like, yeah.
And don't give the other option. I mean, I was seeing, of course, a customer or partner, but I was like focusing on the partner side of it, of course.
I love it.
I think sometimes we just need to have that enthusiasm, that big smile, and the good feeling in our bodies, and just ask the question. And
I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you guys are this power couple. And yes, we're going to be looking for the big event at some point, and we're all going to be.
You're invited. Everyone is invited.
and maybe it'll be in Florida. We'll all come to Florida. We'll do a big event there.
Definitely.
Going through. Yeah, I love
no
that.
pressure, Patric. No pressure at all.
So we have a question in the chat there. No, I'm never looking for networkers. I'm looking for people. I'm looking for, health professional. That was my first idea, but it doesn't need to be health professionals. It can be anyone else. It can be truck drivers. It can be anything. But I was looking for people in Florida and the east and west coast. You can from Naples up to Sarasota, or from West Palm down to Fort Lauderdale, because if you're specific about what you're looking for, they can respond even better. But I'm not trying to connect with other networkers. If they have experiences before, when we have started a conversation, it's another thing, because if they have quit the other thing they've done, maybe they would be open. But I'm not actively seek to recruit other people. So
and I think that was an important thing, because that doesn't mean people should just go out and start looking for health professionals, because you maybe started with some of those, but actually now you're looking for hungry people anywhere, and whatever their profession is, you're just looking to people and looking maybe for that purpose of alignment. And
yes,
and that thing, there's the 2 options, but it sounds like you're ready to go.
And your like primary way of doing things might not be the way that will create your result, but without doing it, you will not find where to place your next foot on the path. Because we did LinkedIn, we did Florida, we continue with that, but I couldn't see what would happen when we went into 2023. And you don't know either, because it's like the universe or whatever you believe in. You believe in yourself, you believe in the process, you believe in the system, you believe in the company. But if you just keep doing it, things will appear.
Just keep doing it, things will appear. I like that. We're gonna leave that as our last sentence of this call. Just keep doing it, people. Just keep doing it. So I'm gonna ask everybody there, you can unmute and you can turn your cameras back on. And you guys, I'm so grateful you were there. You guys came on here. Thanks for all your words of wisdom. Let's build the US and the rest of North America big. And there's room for everybody. So thank you guys both for coming on.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you
so
guys.
much.
Very much.
Both of you.
Thank
I
you.
love
Tack
it.
så mycket Patric och Sofia. Thank you.
Love the growth. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Best
So proud of
mentors.
both of you.